It's about time that you leave your addictions in the past, all of the vices that you have, all of the afflictions that keep you trapped, that keep you stuck in your own mind, and you've been feeling as if you need a change, and that is spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening process is a process of self-realization. Today we're talking about how to go from ego-based consciousness, which is what you've been stuck in all of your life, to spirit-based consciousness, to lead a life, an embodiment of spirit, of creativity, of creation. So when you are living in ego-based consciousness, you are stuck and trapped by the physical world, by your ego. Because the ego, in Western philosophies, they have two distinct parts of the mind. They have the objective mind and the subjective mind. They have the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. They have the true self and the ego. The big S self is the true self. The little s self is the egoic self. Now, we are making the bridge, we are bridging the gap between the ego and spirit. Because ego is an integral part of this human experience. So you should not neglect the ego, kill the ego. And I got caught up on that in the beginning of my spiritual awakening. I wanted to kill my ego. I didn't want it anymore. Oh, just all this desire and affliction and addiction. Oh, it frustrated me. And I just wanted to get rid of it. Oh, how do I get enlightened? I just wanted to escape. I didn't want to suffer anymore. But that's not the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is learning to live as an ego, but lead with spirit. So not leading an ego-based life, but also understanding and appreciating what you have in this physical world, because appreciating and loving what you have right here will allow you to lead a spirit-based life. So when we're living out of ego-based consciousness, we're living in this physical world, confined to this body, confined within our mind. We set the limitations on ourselves based on the labels and judgments that we place on ourselves and the labels and judgments that we place on the world. Because like I mentioned, we do not see the world as the world is, we see the world as we are. And through our ego-based consciousness, the ego is the lens over our spirit. So the world outside of us, the world outside of us has a haze on it. And that haze is our ego. Our spirit sits behind the ego, witnessing, observing, and the ego, my coriness, places a haze on it. If I see myself, right? So I'm looking at myself through the world. So every experience that we have as human beings, we are constantly labeling and judging. As I create this video, I say, oh, that was a pretty good video. That's a label right there. As I drive down the road, I say, oh, this is a road, this is a street. Oh, I can drive here. Is this legal? All of our language is labels. Our language is the way that we make sense of the world, and all of our language ultimately puts a limitation on our direct experience. We say, oh, those are trees, or she's fat, he's handsome. Oh my God, look how big his feet is. That's a great dog. All of these things that we say are words are inherently labels, limitations that we place on the world and inherently place on ourselves. Now, this is just the truth of how we live as humans. And we've made sense of the world through labels, through judgments. And it's a useful tool. But it is not the way to live through spirit. You've heard the term flow. Oh, he was in flow. Or he forgot. It's almost as if you lose yourself. The most successful musicians, the most successful artists, the most successful philosophers and athletes, they enter this place called flow. And what is this place called flow? This place called flow is a place outside of space and time. This place called flow is a place where the ego is no longer existing. You've heard the term, time flies when you're having fun, because you're not caught up in the labels and the judgments. The labels and the judgments keep you stuck in time. They keep you stuck within physical reality. Labels and judgments will keep you stuck, right? Because we are addicted to our own thoughts. We are addicted to these thoughts that come through our mind. We are addicted to substances. We are addicted to food. We're addicted to alcohol and marijuana and nicotine. We have all these things, these vices that we hold on to, that keep us so deeply entangled in the physical world. But when you enter flow, when you begin to enact through spirit, you leave them behind. You leave all of the attachments that the ego has behind when you enter into flow. And how do we enter into flow? Flow is an etheric state. It's beyond just physical. You look at people like Michael Jordan, you see him in the NBA Finals, and he's jumping up and dunking basketballs and hitting every three-point because Michael's not in the court. He's embodied spirit. He's embodied the purity of his awareness. And it's no longer him. He's surrendered. That's the beautiful thing about creation, is that when we surrender, we allow spirit to flow through, God to flow through us, and we can begin to leave behind the physical world. And then when we step back into ego-based consciousness, we can enjoy what we've created. So as I create this video, this is my flow. This is my flow so I can step into and channel this information so that you can learn and create and also share this information like this and step into flow and create. Ultimately, this is all an act of creation. So when we lead into spirit-based consciousness, there are different actions that we are taking than when we're in ego-based consciousness. When you're in ego-based consciousness, you might be into drama, you might watch sports on the weekends, you might like going to the bar with your buddies and drinking and talking about girls. You might be pitying yourself. You might be over-consuming on social media, looking through the fridge late at night, looking for a little snack, going and grabbing ice cream, and when you know you're not supposed to. This is ego-based consciousness, right? Now, what is spirit-based consciousness? Spirit-based consciousness is where you can listen, where you can pay attention and learn from the world and see the world as an extension of yourself. In spirit-based consciousness, you can develop deep relationships with others. You can express yourself authentically. You can give your girlfriend a hug and just sit in her energy. Spirit, beyond the physical world. You can learn, you can research and learn esoteric and exoteric topics, developing your self-awareness. You can sit with yourself quietly and listen to your own mind. You can share. You can put yourself out there authentically and share your story online. You can create, and that is the most important aspect of this. It's creation. It is the yoga of creation, union through creation, creating a connection with God through our action here on planet Earth. And that is what I'm doing here. So I'm creating a connection with God based on the words that I speak, the videos that I create, the poems that I write. It is an act of creation. And spirit speaks through me. God speaks through me. Not that I'm ever equal to God, and that's a foolish thing to say, though you could be equal to God. Now, we have different practices that we can embody. Yoga, breathwork, meditation, finding things we love to do. Because when you find things you love to do, that is where you bridge the gap. It's that simple. Find things you love to do. Find people you love hanging out with. Find activities that you enter flow in. Because the more you enter flow, if you fill up your day, now this is the key to entering spirit-based consciousness. Can you fill up your day with activities that you constantly enter flow? Because flow is a sudden burst of enlightenment. A sudden burst of enlightenment. Because enlightenment, all it is just living 100% entirely spirit-based. Right? We see Jesus and the Buddha. They led lives of love because they were so in love with themselves and who they were and the world around them. They lived entirely spirit-based consciousness. So how can you begin to create a life of spirit that leads through spirit? Right? Do you wake up and go to yoga in the morning? Do you go to a job that you love doing? For me, in my case, I create videos. I love making videos, so I go yoga. And videos. I enter flow in my yoga in the morning. I enter flow in the videos that I create. And then I say, oh, you know what? I'm working on a book right now, and I love that. I love that. I love working on my book. And I enter flow again, and I'm typing away on my computer, entering flow, and I say, oh, wow, that's too much computer time. Let me step away and learn something. Let me read a book. Let me read, right? Boom. And I love reading. I love learning. I love creating. And then I say, you know what, before I go to bed, let me journal. Let me draw a mandala and let me journal. So boom, right? So what I've done is I have effectively created an entire life of things that I love doing so that I am in flow all the time. So that I don't get stuck in the physical world because I am living through spirit at all times. Because I do yoga in the morning and I write in my journal and I love doing that. And then I love creating videos and networking and talking to people, which is my occupation. And then I work on my book in the evening and that's super pleasant. And I love creating and sharing my creation. It's another aspect of spirit-based consciousness. And then, I learn a little bit. So I read my book and also I love doing that and I'm in flow with that. And then, before I go to bed, I create a little bit and I draw a mandala and I exit my mind. And then, usually before I go to bed, I meditate, right? So what I've done is I've been in flow all day. I have been in flow from the second I wake up to the second I go to bed. So where is there space for me to be stuck in ego? For me to be saying, poor me? There is no space because I don't allow for the space. There's a concept in Hermeticism called the law of rhythm, right? And the law of rhythm states that the pendulum swings back and forth. So as much as I'm in ego-based consciousness, I can go into, or spirit-based consciousness, I can fall into ego-based consciousness. But simply put, through the law, we can interact and manipulate the law. We can transcend the law through the law. So what we can also do is we can deny. I can deny the fact that I have any addictions, right? You know what's super powerful? It's saying that's not my reality, right? Embodying a new label, using these ego-based tricks, because that's the law. We get stuck in ego-based consciousness because of the labels and limitations that we put on ourselves. I'm no greater than my phone. I love her, but I can't have her. I just can't stop eating sugar. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine not drinking on the weekends. These are limitations that you put in yourself. And when you step into spirit-based consciousness, you can quite literally deny the pendulum swing backwards, right? And you become higher than your ego. You become greater than your ego because you've just denied, right? I have no addictions. I am not addicted to anything. Can you say that enough times that it becomes your reality? Can you convince your ego to embody the labels that you don't have any addictions? Can you convince your ego to embody the fact that you love everybody that you see? Because these are also labels, but they can be used to transcend the swing of this pendulum so that you live in constant spirit. So you are constantly stepping through as if God is interacting with the world, right? They say, what would Jesus do, right? Jesus was in flow. Jesus was acting as love at all times. He was leading through spirit. He was leading through flow. So I've created a life for myself where I constantly lead through flow so that I can live a life that matters. That is a life of prosperity and abundance and positive relationships and deep, meaningful connection and creation and learning and uplifting. So if this sounds like a life you want to live, click on down to the next video over here. I have tons of videos on consciousness, spirituality, self-realization, and topics like this, where we are going in, doing the work, improving ourselves, and creating a happier and healthier planet Earth. So click subscribe. I want to hang out with you more. I'm posting videos like this every single day, and I love doing it, and I love you for being here. So thank you. Much love. Peace and Adonai.